Okay, we've come to our decision. I can indicate that it's an extreme penalty that is given when there's non-compliance. It means that not only is the onus shift to the applicant from the city, but it also means that if any relief is obtained, it's not available until the following year. On the basis of the fact that it was 17 days late and the fact that the city was able to use the information when receiving it 17 days late for modeling purposes, is our position that no prejudice has arisen that the city has experienced because of it. And under that basis, if no prejudice has arisen, we feel that it is improper to impose such a severe penalty. So we're not going to grant your request under that circumstance.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So then, the property in question is 920 Archibald Street. Page 3, we have a number of leases for 7-Elevens, basically. Let's see here. So we show a range of 25 to 30 bucks square foot. These are close to the top of the range for 7-Elevens in the city of Winnipeg. I'm aware of 2 that are higher, and I believe that there are about a dozen that are lower. Ones in the range of 13 to 16 bucks are properties which are off-street, poor visibility, poor access. In this case here, 920 Archibald, we've used a $27.09 a square foot. The additional building value of $202,000, I have to make a change to that value. So instead of $202,000, please write down $196,000. And that's $6,000 less, so a recommendation of $106,900. We've found that properties that have a gas tank operation as well as the convenience store are running the higher end of the range, the $27 to $30. So this is my evidence. I'm asking for a reduction to $1,069,000. Thank you.
Thank you. Is that acceptable to the applicant?
He's lost it. Let me just double check here. I don't think so.
Okay, you can ask any questions you may have of the assessor at this point then.
Just one question arising from that. You stated that the properties with gas station tanks were renting for higher than without gas station tanks?
Yes, sir.
But you added value for the gas station tank, did you not?
I certainly did.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions, Mr. Terrian?
Yeah, you mentioned this is in the high range. Could you tell me again, you told me, I think you said a dozen were in the lower range?
Yes, sir.
And what's the other figure you gave us?
Well, there's the $13 to $16 leases
Yeah.
that are, for instance, Selkirk and Arlington, Main and Cathedral. There's another range of sales that runs roughly $20 to $25. Those are older stores that are on the main drags. Corridon, for instance. I believe we have 1 or 2 on St. Mary's. We also have my memory fails me, unfortunately, and I didn't provide those as comparables.
Where would you place this one? Would you place it in the middle, like, have you inspected this place?
I have not inspected this. I mean, I have driven by it,
Yeah.
but I have not inspected it.
So, would you place it in the middle, because you mentioned these are higher, some are lower?
Yeah.
Where would you place it? I'm just trying to get a handle on this.
Sure thing. This is, from my perspective, the lower end of the properties with gas stations as part of the operation.
And your cap rate, 6.9. So where would that fit in there? In your page 6?
Properties, I believe, have ranged from 6.9% roughly up to, I think we had 8.35 on properties in the North End region, like District 3, which always takes a hit on the cap rate. 6.9%, I mean, our standard, at the very end, I have some cap rate evidence that my employers have asked me to
That
put
wasn't
in.
my question, though. Where does it fit in page 6 on your chart here? Is it retail, is it?
Oh, I see. It would be retail.
In retail, and where would it fit? Community?
It's not office, and it's not industrial or multifamily. So I mean, I have to say that, you know, we've used the retail cap rate. The cap rates that we've provided here run from 3.1 up to 7.4%. The model has decided that a 6.9% is fair for this property.
Okay, that's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. McIntyre?
Is the cap rate affected by location?
In that properties in Market Region 3 have a an additional 1.5% cap rate. Other than that, I could see no location-driven adjustments to cap rate.
Okay, thank you.
And you indicated to Mr. Terrian that you thought this is maybe a lower end with a gas,
Yes, sir.
Station attached. So what rates do you have that we haven't got on your page for a gas station located 7-Elevens with?
Well, as you can see, the comparables that I have here run between $27.17 a square foot up to $30 a square foot.
Right.
The lowest one there, the $25.66 a square foot, has no gas station. It does have additional land though, about half an acre in size. It's a C3 zoning, so as additional land, we've put a little premium on that. But I mean, you know what, leases with gas stations run 27 to 30 bucks.
Oh, they do?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so you, then, according to your position, then, with the rate you use, you're really basically at the low end for a gas station.
Cap rate is basically
I'm not about cap rate, I'm talking about rent per square foot.
for a property with, I think we have one lower than that, which might be Talbot and Watt, but yes, sir.
What is Talbot and Watt? That's a pretty good location. Do you remember what the rent is there?
It's not on this hearing, it's on tomorrow or Friday, but I think the rent was $24.86. That I could be speaking out of turn on that.
Okay.
The $24.86 might just be what we've applied to it. I can't recall if that's owner occupied or not.
I see. And do you know if, how that compares? I know the location on Watt and Talbot. How does that compare with this location that we're dealing with right now?
But the one in Talbot is kind of a tighter lot. There's not as much room for parking driving through. The property at 920 Archibald seems to have a little more room to it. That's
Okay.
really the only thing I could make.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Dip.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, you can proceed with your evidence now.
Great. On all these ones, basically, I just put in a general brief, because it's going to be pretty much covering off the same lease information as we're going forward. Basically on page 13 to 16 of that, just showing the location of where they are. And in this case, we're looking at the Archibald one, which is on page 16. Give you an idea of the location. And then on page 17, I've drawn up the comparable leases for various 7-Elevens with their options there. One of the concerns by 7-Eleven is if you're looking at your ones with gas stations versus ones without, your ones with gas stations will show as a higher rent. Included in their lease is there's two components to it usually. There's a commission that they get from the gas company for selling the gas. It's on the income side. On the rent side, there's also a fee for having the tanks and stuff there, and the use of them. And so the difference obviously is the profit to 7-Eleven. But that usually will show up on the rent side. So you get a slightly higher rent. And I think when they're accounting for that in their analysis, they've added the tanks on a cost approach, which is sort of gives it a constant base. The rent will fluctuate obviously depending on the amount of gas that comes in and out of that gas station there. I've outlined the leases on page 17. A number of leases with the backup for them in the back, showing when they were negotiated and their information on them, and when the year built was. I've labeled them according to their market area, according to the assessor's market area study, and then have done a analysis based on the average and median for market area 1 and market area 2. Going forward. And so for the subject here at 920, I've come to a conclusion of approximately $20 rent. $20 rent. This is in the market area region 1, which is showing a average and median of around $11 rent. The assessor's currently using units 2709, and a $20 rent definitely shows a higher end of the market area 1 study. And then for that subject, the value conclusion shows up on page 22. And I guess if you change that adjustment from 202,000 to 196, that will slightly change the present value, which we need to grab a calculator. That brings it to 837, 117, or 837 rounded, I guess. And that's my conclusion of value there.
Mr. Tucker, do you have any questions of the applicant you can ask them now?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On your page 17, the leases which you have listed here, These are all renewals?
They're a mix there, so there was, I put them in the comments, renewal in 2018. Phillips was the 2013 lease. Henderson Highway, 2019 negotiation. They had, for Pemberton Highway, they negotiated to remove the percentage rent in 2015. There was a percentage rent option in a number of these that they 7-Eleven didn't want to pay anymore, so they negotiated them out of most of their leases. It's based on a percentage of sales over a certain amount. And then they had an option in 2017. Portage was a new lease in 2016. And you basically read the comments down there. The one on Edison is a bit of a, which we'll come to, it's a bit of a confusing one. That was a new term in 2018 for a 7-year term. That is a blended rate because there's actually 2 buildings there. Depending on how you want to look at it, they're leasing the entire 2 components of the buildings, but the lease was basically for the 7-Eleven store at a higher rate with nothing for the other component. But on a blended basis, works out to around $15 a square foot.
So of these leases here, they were all 7-Elevens prior to the renewals and renegotiations and the new lease amounts?
Yes.
Okay, so none of these are, I suppose I should say, market tested in the open market, where you have a building to be occupied by 7-Eleven for the first time?
Correct.
Okay, okay. For instance, on the 630 watt, where you mentioned they removed the percent in 2014,
Yeah.
is that like an arm's length transaction?
We got here. I included the details that they sent me at the third from the last page.
Which page was that again, sorry?
I guess it's the third from the last, I've got, oh, sorry, no, because I pulled them apart here. Just after the ground lease, for the ground lease, you can go back 3 pages. It's a lease renewal proposal, and it's for store 15138, 630 watt.
Oh, yeah, okay, I've got it. So this is actually, where you have the lease deal progress comments, like, I mean, that's a private owner leasing to 7-Eleven?
This is the 7-Eleven internal documents on their lease progress and where they are with all the leases.
Okay.
It's sort of a lease summary.
So this refers to what 7-Eleven wants to pay?
This is what they're paying, is there. So if you go down there, 2014 fixed rate option at market, in 2014, and they removed the percent rent. And then in 2016, they have an intent to exercise their option, which they did.
So effectively, this is a reduction in the rent because of the removal of the percentage?
I'm not sure what it was before 2014, to tell you the truth, so I don't know what the change was. But they removed the percentage rent, and then according to here, they had an option at market, so they came to whatever agreement on a market rent. and they remove the percentage off.
Okay, I have no further questions. Thank you.
Mr. Terry, do you have any questions of the applicant?
Just trying to confirm a few things here. On your page 17, are these the comparables you're gonna use for all the properties?
Yes,
Okay, and are these, I just wanna clarify one thing, are these 7-Elevens
yes, they're
that
also,
include gas stations or not?
some of them include gas stations, some of them do not.
Okay, so we're a bit apples and oranges here in comparables. This one's got a gas station,
Yes,
and some of them here in the region, these are all in, like, this one is in Region 1, quite familiar with it, by the way. We don't know which ones of gas have 7-Eleven plus gas stations. What I'm trying to say is I try to find comparables that compare to the subject.
I think the gas station issue, the way, and it's the way most assessing bodies do it, is they've broken out the gas station as a cost component. So that's a separate add-on value. So the fact for the gas station, whether it has a gas station or doesn't have a gas station, really comes down to there's value added to that. So that would make them more comparable. Then the issue is whether the leases need to be adjusted for that in the rent, if there's any gas station component in the rent.
But you see where I'm at here, I mean, I'm trying to bring it down to a common denominator. When I look at the ones, they're between, on page 17, they're between 8 and 15.50.
Yeah.
So that's this, and then I go here and it's $20. So I'm saying, okay, what is the appellant trying to tell us here? Because I don't know if that means anything to me.
Right.
And when you compare it to the $20, because you've made some adjustments, I would assume, because then I see you've got stuff on market. Well, market one, you got 1102, okay, we got it at the bottom here.
Yeah.
Okay, I hadn't seen that, but that's my question, actually.
Okay, yeah, some of the, like for market area one, if you look there, there's a couple low rents that popped up. In the analysis, there's always a couple low rents that pop up. St. Mary's at $8, and then the Pembina Highway at basically $5. So there's a couple low rents in the scheme of things that will bring things down. When you look out at an aggregate, you're between basically $11 and $15 there. And I agree with the assessor that this is a better performing area, and I gave that a premium on that.
And my other question, I think I forgot it. One of my colleagues will pick it up. Thank you.
Ms. McIntyre?
Yeah, so if you turn to page 13, 1091 Henderson, that one clearly has a gas bar. There's some shrubs in front of it. But
Yeah.
So that one is the one at the $23.89. The lease rate.
Mm-hmm.
So that may help you, Mr. Terrian, with
Okay.
where that, if I turn to page 22 on the subject, so when I looked at this chart, it looks like the only difference is the lease rate.
Yes.
So you've agreed on everything else throughout all of these submissions?
Yeah, pretty much. The only thing that we really had evidence on was the lease rates.
Lease rate, okay.
Yeah, so we had some concerns. There's a couple there that very low cap rates. We had some concerns we brought up with the assessor, but we didn't have evidence on that. So left it to the assessor's judgment, but mainly it came to the lease rate issue.
So I think we can focus on that, Mr.
Yeah.
Chairman.
I think so. And Mr. McInerney's asking the question, but just to clarify, so you had no problem with the adjustment of 202,000, which has been reduced to 196 instead?
Yeah, I agreed with that,
Yeah.
that's fine, that was
So
just.
that's gonna be added to your bottom
Yeah.
number of market value.
Yeah,
Okay, that's what I wanted to make sure of. And I think we've done this one, so we can proceed with the next property on the agenda, which will be 1622 St. Mary's Road.
1622 St. Mary's Road, I have to make the request again. It's the same 16 days late, 17 days late.
Right.
So I imagine, not to put words in your mouth, sir, but I would imagine the decision may be the same on that?
Well, we've actually, we knew that the weather is coming up,
Sure.
and we realized it might be the same argument. If it was the same argument, we obviously were considering the same decision. So you can proceed, Mr. Cook.
Thank you very much,
You're
sir.
welcome.
Property in question here, 1622 St. Mary's Road, excuse me. I have leases from 2566 square foot up to $30 a square foot, including 1184 Portage, which is 2717 a square foot. There are two components to this property. There is the 7-Eleven store, which is the second premise, and then there is the, I'm sorry, I have that wrong. The 7-Eleven store is the first premise. Second premise is United Church of Canada Administrative. I have a recommendation on this assessment. Let me just confirm the number here. Perfect. If I can just keep a copy there.
For
I've
sure,
given
yeah.
one to the appellant.
Oh, great.
Thank you. So, the changes that we have here are to the cap rate, which has gone from 7.3 up to 7.9. And the additional building value is 223,000 instead of 233,000. The rent has gone up a bit on the 7-Eleven portion, but has gone down fairly significantly on the United Church of Canada area. So, based on what I have here for comparisons, I'm making a recommendation of $1,386,000. Thank you.
And is that acceptable, or are you going to be
yeah,
proceeding?
if you look on page 20 of my brief, I had there, the parameters that I used are slightly different. Value comes in very close to what I had there as a recommended value, so yes, while we may disagree with the finer points, the end point is
You
close
got to where you
enough.
want to go.
Yeah,
Destination.
the end point is close enough.
So, yeah, you have the destination then, okay.
Yeah.
Any questions, Mr. Terry?
That sounds good to me.
Okay, and I won't question it either. Thank you for both parties' cooperation on that. Okay, so we'll go on then to 438 St. Anne's Road.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. 438 St. Anne's Road, happily sent their information in with plenty of time. Thank you very much for that. We have used a rent of $21.38 a square foot. This is an older building. Of course, while all these buildings are able to sustain a business, there are certain depreciative elements which we feel are taken into account by the lower rent of $21.38. Now, we've used a cap rate of 7.4%. There's no additional building value as there's no gas station on this property. So our assessment is $522,000. And I see the front page says $566,000. Well, Mr. Chairman, I'm prepared to let the $522,000 stand as a recommendation or as a confirmation, whichever the value is. Sorry.
Well, maybe I'll first of all get if the applicant's prepared to accept that amount, and then we can go further.
Certainly.
So you have a chance to look at that over and determine whether you get to accept 522?
Yes, go ahead, the 522 is the assessed value.
Okay.
Can we you give us the page on your appeal? So I can dig it up, but,
It's page 21.
I'm on page 21.
21, okay. Four 38. And you're down to 522. Okay.
So was 566 in the roll?
Okay, if it was on the roll, then this is a recommendation. Our second assistant advised that it is.
Unfortunately, I can't answer that question. It's either 522 or 566. My apologies that I can't give you a definitive answer.
Okay, well, either way, it's either a recommendation or it is what and obviously, looking at your page number 21, I can see that this amount is not acceptable to the applicant.
That's correct.
So if you have anything further to emphasize on your brief, you can do so, Mr. Judge, otherwise I'll open up for questions.
No, sir, I have no further comments on this. Thank you.
Okay, so the applicant may ask questions on this.
No questions.
No questions?
Already?
Mr. Terry, any questions for the assessor?
You gotta look at the paper a little bit here. Make sure I got everything. Okay, that's fine. Haven't seen anything that's, all right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Ms. Fenneker, do you have any questions to ask the assessor?
So the only issue is the difference between the 2138 and the $15 rent?
Correct.
No other questions?
Okay. And that probably summarizes the applicant's, I have no questions either, and you can present your material, it's on page
Sure.
22, we're already there, so,
Yeah.
or 21, I should say.
Yeah, so if you go to, actually, you can see on page 17 that the subject is actually there as one of the rents. At St. Anne's Road, 2017 option at fair market rent of $15.50. And then if you, I've included the backup sheets for that in the briefs there. And that's on the lease renewal. And that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's about the 6-1 lease renewal in from the front.
I would suggest, sir, next time you make.
Number the pages?
Otherwise, we gotta read
Yes,
it.
yes.
Even if it's written by hand, it's no different.
Yes, I will,
Otherwise, it's hard to find.
I will do that definitely for tomorrow.
It's store 14834, just at the top left. Is the store number.
Oh, okay. 3-4.
Store
There we
number
go.
14834.
Yeah, I got it now. You were quick on that stuff.
Oh, I'm a youngster.
Yeah, I know, that's why. Okay, so here and here. Okay.
Regional.
Here we go.
And just so you can go down to the little comment section there, in 2017, the intent to exercising our 5-year fair market value, and then they set up with the rent negotiated at, with 2 5-year fair market value options. So those aren't like normal options where it's a predetermined rate. They say, you know, in 5 years, we'll now do it at this rate, or we'll now do it that rate. You actually have to come to some sort of agreement on what the fair market rent will be. And if they don't agree, they could go to arbitrators and get that figured out. And so they came out with a rent of $15.50 for the subject.
Okay, that's your position.
Yep.
Mr. Took, questions?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Regarding the lease renewal proposal here for 438 St. Anne's Road, I note the open date is 1978. That it's been a store, 7-Eleven store since 1978?
Probably, yep.
Okay. So this fair market value is not predetermined by the lease that was set years ago, right?
So, some of them may be, but this one's not, especially when they put the fair market value
Okay.
comment.
Okay. I have no further questions. Thank you.
Mr. Terry, any questions of the applicant?
Oh, thank you.
Mr. Magdalene, any questions?
Just one question on page 17, the lease rate is $15.50, yet you're using $15.
Yes.
Any reason for that?
Just when I just did it basically on the model. I've got market area 1, market area 2 coming up between year 11 and basically between 14 and 15, and so that's why I came up with the 15.
Okay, no further questions.
Okay, and 1550 was, it looks like your comments, was renegotiated in 2017.
Yes. Yeah.
And it was a fair market.
Yes.
You know if they went to arbitration, it is, and that was a meeting of the minds of the parties?
It was a meeting in the minds of the parties. They didn't go to arbitration that I know of at this
You
point.
know when it was prior to 2017?
I do not know. I wasn't involved, so I don't have that information.
Okay, but I guess your position is that it's negotiated by arm's length parties and should indicate market value if that was the case. 'Cause,
Yeah, it indicated a fair market rent at the time, the agreement between the two parties.
And although 2015 isn't that long ago, that doesn't really necessarily tell, well, it is the period of time we're dealing with now, so the assessment 2018 values. Okay, thank you. Okay, we're next going to go on to deal with 234 St. Mary's Road. When you ready, Mr. Cook?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Property at 234 St. Mary's Road. We have an assessment of, once again, I have numbers that don't add up. So 535 is what we show here, 475 is what the income worked out to. So I believe the 475 would have to stand.
Oh, okay, and again, I suppose you can go into it. I know you were originally asking for the onus to shift, but I think that it's the same situation where it was received 50 days late.
Yes,
And
that's
we've already made a
acknowledged.
decision on that, that's why we didn't pursue that?
Yes, sir.
So you're not pursuing it at this point?
Well,
You know what the answer's gonna be?
let's say,
You're subject to, okay, and we've already made a decision.
thank you, yeah,
Okay, that's fine.
that as long as the record shows that I've pursued those, then that's quite satisfactory, thank you, sir.
And we're satisfied you pursue them all, and
Yes.
you're not trying to flog a dead horse.
No, sir,
Okay,
thank you.
you're welcome.
We're looking at 475 now.
Yeah,
That's interesting.
yes, yes, I'm not really sure how that happened, my apologies again. So we've used 1860 a square foot for this property. Excuse me. It's an older property. I would just like to mention that, again, these higher rents are all ones that have either additional land or gas stations. So the reason you're looking at 1860 is because the store's a little older. You know, we do have a high rent on St. Mary's, which is very comparable to St. Anne's. However, we've used 1860 a square foot, and I'm comfortable with 1860 based on the age of the store. So 475,000 is my recommendation, I believe, and If it's not a recommendation, then a confirmation. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, and again, I haven't looked ahead. Are you accepting that?
No,
Okay.
that's the number I had as the assessed value. So
That's
I
fine.
calculated it out.
Okay, so we'll take that as assessed value, and then if you have any questions, you can ask them now.
No questions on that.
Mr. Chairman, do you have any questions to the assessor?
Yeah, it's fairly difficult for us to use your comparables when, where that range versus the 1860, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
I looked at your comparables and I said, well, I don't know what they mean really in relation to the 1860. That's an only, it's not a question, Mr. Chair, that's a comment.
I understand.
Thank you.
Okay, so I assume there's no questions then, because you had asked them
No.
if they would. Mr. Manager, did you have any
I have
questions?
the same opinion.
I could
Yeah.
actually address
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
if there's any point. Basically, these were placeholders. I put the highest ones in as placeholders because if you put anything lower in, that's automatically the ceiling. I never had a chance to revisit it with sales and comparisons that were maybe a bit better. So my apologies for not having information that's up to your standards.
Yeah, because we try to be fair too.
Oh, yeah.
The evidence is,
Yeah.
is important to
Yep.
us.
And these are amongst the highest rents in the city of Winnipeg for 7-Elevens. I say amongst because we still have a couple that are higher. Again, it's very hard to make a fair assessment of value with huge adjustments like this. So my apologies for, again, not having better information.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
And I don't have any questions, so take us through the first pages of your brief that you'd like us to visit.
Yeah, it basically goes on page 17, and the subject is there at 234 St. Mary's. And that was a 2014 lease negotiated at 1102.
What's the term of that lease?
I'm gonna give you the backup on it. There's that one. Oh, sorry, where is it? Oh, sorry. Try that again. 234 St. Mary's. 234 St. Mary's. Okay, 234 St. Mary's. Here we go. Looks like the 14 was, goes to 2021.
Yeah, I see that.
That's there.
December 31st, 2021, according
Yeah.
to your page, whatever number it is.
Yeah.
So basically, it's a 7-year term, which is
Yeah.
an unusual term. but-
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a couple 7-year terms in there. If you look on page 17, the Edison one was a 7-year term as well. That's, I don't know how they came up with those. It's typically 5, yeah, I agree, it's typically 5 years. Yeah.
Okay, any questions, Mr. Tuck?
No, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Terry, any questions of the applicant on this property?
Yeah, I just, I'm not sure, I trying to get the per square foot rent, is that the 1153 or where's the figure for the rent?
If you look, it says, there's a little thing under lease cost, it says total rent. And that's, you divide the total rent by the square footage.
Oh, so
and
it's
that'll-
not-
That'll get your, rent
Oh.
rate per square foot.
Okay, so it's not worked out there.
No. I find, there may be a few feet difference between the assessor and what 7-Eleven has and all that, so I just used the assessor's square footage divided by what they're paying in rent to get the rent per square foot. That way we're all on the same base.
So on this one, you're 1102? Is that what you said?
That's what they're currently paying, and I'm suggesting a rent of $15. Again, using the benchmarks.
On page, on your comparable.
Yep. So that calculation is on
Yeah.
434, 438.
So 1102 there. Okay, that's all, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, so that's on page, that's on the bottom of page 21 is the calculations there.
Is it? Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, that's St. Anne's Road, we're on St. Mary's.
Oh, St. Mary's, right.
So that's the top of that
Top.
page.
Top
Top of that page.
Yeah.
No, I knew, I read that, but I was trying to see what you were informing about the lease. That's really what I was looking at.
Oh. Yeah, I've got the comments there on page 17, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, any questions, Mr. McIntyre?
Just one, are there step-up clauses in these leases, or are they fixed for the term?
There are a mix, they're all over the map. On that.
So it brings to mind my next question. So if they're paying the lease rates, do they pay in addition to the lease rates percentage of sales?
You see a bunch of them, they removed that in 2014 and negotiated to remove that, so their option is, 7-Eleven prefers not to do that, so I would say that majority of them do not pay a percentage of sales for store items. There's a commission and a fee structure that goes with the gas station component.
Yeah,
of it,
I mentioned that. Okay, no more question.
Okay, I'm looking at your page, lease renewal proposal that you have,
Yeah,
and it indicates lease costs, 11,575.
so let me just get to that page.
Yeah, well, I don't know the page number, so I don't know how to tell you.
Yeah, no, that's fine, just my own mess, let me solve it. 1 second, there we go, so we'll see there. Yes, okay.
Okay, and is that where you got your $50 rent from?
No, the 114 divided by the square footage.
Okay, so that's the total rent.
Yeah.
And so, it looks like,
They're, what they call
what's the
over.
overriding rent exactly?
They haven't given me a good explanation of what that is.
'Cause- Okay.
It's not a percentage of sales, but they do analyze their gross sales to their rent, just to make sure that the store is worthwhile to continue to be there. So they've got some calculations for that. That's the other side there, is their gross sales to rent ratio calculations. But that's their internal thing that says, continue putting a store here, or we're not making enough sales to have a store here, so.
Okay, so they have a base rent and they have an overriding rent, which,
Yeah.
and you say it's not a percentage, although it says OR with the percentage sign.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering-
Yeah, I think that goes with their 250% over gross sales there. But I think that's their internal that goes to their internal calculation side, on there. Their total rent is their net rent, is their paying.
Okay, well, this total, and I guess it is predetermined because there is a total. But,
Yeah.
find it a little bit mystifying.
Yes,
because-
I haven't got a good explanation for that, but my understanding is they did remove all the percentage rents in 2014. They tried to anyways, they went through and negotiated most of those away.
Okay, I think we've got a job to do.
Yeah,
We want to be fair.
yeah,
And I'm going to be fair to you, your applicant, and the city assessment
Yeah.
department too, and the real taxpayers of the city, because if we reduce your tax assessment,
yeah,
basically the other taxpayers of the city make up that shortfall, because there's going to be a tax base at the end.
yes.
And so we like unequivocal evidence if possible, and there are some questions here that you've left with us that make our job a little bit more difficult.
I'm afraid so.
Because we're
yes,
estimating, yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Well, we'll deal with- I guess that's what we have. Okay, we'll next proceed with 1091 Henderson Highway.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a recommendation on that. And I've given one to the appellant as well.
Thank you.
So we had originally classed this as a kiosk operation, and of course, a kiosk that's 2,340 square feet really makes no sense. So we changed this to retail. Rent went from $32.69 to $34.06. Vacancy has gone from 2% to 6%. Shortfall has gone up very slightly to $6.50 a square foot. And the cap rate has gone to 6.75% from 6.15%. So my recommendation is $1,340,000. The original was $1,456,000. Now, with respect to the appellant, $34.06 a square foot. I have only one lease in the entire city of Winnipeg that's higher than that. So I would respectfully request of the board to temper the $34.06 a square foot, as it's too high.
But it is used in your recommendation.
It is used in my recommendations. It's based on what our system can come up with. And so my primary operative thing is to try and make sure that the assessment goes through flawlessly from time to time to
Right.
time. So this might be a little higher than I would feel is reasonable. But I'm kind of in the middle of two things here. I'm trying to make it work in perpetuity in our system at work.
I understand that, and to make our job easier, because I'm sure the applicant's gonna have a number, and this number here is a number that you feel is too high. What number would you feel would be a reasonable number?
Based
I'm
on.
sure that's the term, but I think.
Certainly, please. Based on the comps that I have, the 1103 Pembina Highway is $30 a square foot. That's, I believe, close to the intersection of Grant and Pembina. This property here is at the intersection of McLeod and Henderson. So I would be happy with the $29 to $30 a square foot range.
Okay, we can work the numbers. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm gonna allow you to work those numbers and see if the recommendation is satisfactory to you, and if not, we'll proceed further and we can ask questions. I haven't done that yet.
not sure if I'm doing the math right here, so.
Okay, we're doing it as well, so we'll put the answer hopefully.
At $29 a square foot, I get 1,179,000.
Okay, I must have done it wrong because I wrote
I could have done it wrong too.
911,387.
Oh.
Oh, plus
Then
the,
you have to add 266 to that. That was,
Okay.
took me a while to.
Oh, yeah.
I was-
Oh, I see that. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I almost missed that
Oh,
too.
yeah.
I was like, that's not the right number.
Oh, yeah,
I'll take it, but it's not the right number.
yeah. Okay, well, you think the right number?
But yeah, if it comes out 1,179,000, that's close to what my, again, we can quibble about how we got there. The end result of what I thought the value was, it's very close.
So 1,177,000?
I get 1,179,000.
Okay. Any questions, any members?
They agree, it's not a problem.
No?
No question.
I'm not gonna question either. It's good, well, it's not a recommendation, no, it's, well, are you gonna call it a rise recommendation?
You can call it my recommendation if you like.
You have to leave that,
Sure.
because you
Certainly.
haven't, okay, based on your recommendation.
However you wanna do it. It's fine.
Fair enough.
Okay, our next property is at 1393 Henderson Highway. Are you ready, Mr. Peck?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. One moment here.
No,
Excuse me. Property in question, 1393 Henderson Highway. It's a 7-Eleven store with no gas stations or anything. On a main route on Henderson Highway, but I believe the cross street is Sutton, which is less of a major route. The building is 1970 originally built. So what we have used here is $21.32 a square foot on the property, resulting in an assessment of $586,000. That's my information, sir.
thank you. Any questions of the assessor?
No.
Mr. Terry, any questions?
Yeah, I see the building was 1970, but it was also 1980 effective. Do we know what was done to this building?
No, sir, most likely the 1980 was an eyeball from somebody at some point. Like, there was probably never a effective age study done on it, you know, with this is how much the value of the new work is and this is how much the value of the old building is. I could almost put money on that there was never anything scientifically done.
Well, that's a little concerning if it's an eyeball job. Depends how you see the damn thing.
It sure is, and you know, you know, that's just the way it's done.
That's your answer? Okay, thank you.
Some of these numbers are predating me.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Magid, do you have any questions?
question.
I just have a question to ask, and it's not pertaining to this matter solely, but I know this actually location, so it's right next to Springfield Road, so there's a road
Yeah.
just north of
Yeah.
Springfield. And it's on the going home side of the road.
Yes, sir.
And I guess most 7-Elevens probably are, because it makes it better for, people are just in a rush going home, they are going to work in the morning. Does that affect the rent?
Nothing that I could put my finger on. I went through everything, and the only changes that I could really vouch for are age
Okay.
and to a lesser degree location.
Okay, I think that would probably be location though, if it's on the going home side, it'd be a better location than the going to work side.
The only location work that I did was just to see what major road it was on. You may have a point that a going home side may be worth more.
Okay,
I
it's
could
not,
not.
it's nothing to, okay, it's just like a question of interest, and it's certainly not gonna affect this actual application.
Certainly.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, you can take us through your, everything here?
Yeah, just a quick comment on the location.
Yeah.
7-Eleven has a whole team that picks out locations, and so they always pick the best location for them, so you'll usually find that they are on the going home side.
I would
As
expect so.
opposed to the going. And it depends on the market area. Some cities, they all put them on the going to side, because that's where everyone stops for gas in the morning. Yeah, it seems that they've narrowed down the traffic pattern analysis quite well.
Yeah, or maybe
That's
they wanna get into a
Yeah.
location, there's no space on the going home side, so they'll take the other side because they wanna be in the location. Possibly.
They're very scientific about how they pick their locations. If they can't get what they want, they don't go there.
Okay.
It's also close to a high school.
Yeah.
That's true.
That's an important point.
Yeah.
So on this one, they're 1039 Highway, I just turned you to page 17. Is their 2019, the subject shows up there. It's a 2019 negotiation that they're in at 1170. That's what they're currently paying and what they're currently negotiating at. And then I did not include the lease summary here because there was some confidential information on their lease summary, because they're still in the negotiation process. But basically they're saying that they're not paying any more than that, or they're moving. And 39 Henderson, but yes, again, just using the benchmarking that I've done based on your market area 1 and 2, I benchmarked it at the $15 a rent.
Mr. Cook, any questions?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So Firstly, the lease at 1393 Henderson was, like you said, 2019. That one specifically is post-reference, so we can't use that here. But when I look at this range of leases here, are there, the amount that is paid for rent, is that in some way based on the performance of the store as well?
The way 7-Eleven looks at it, they'll benchmark the performance of the store to what they can afford to pay in rent. So that's why they'll vary quite a bit. And that's why we do try, for assessment purposes, try to do benchmarks and figure out averages type thing, because that will vary what they can pay specifically. And it's more of a business thing, because you'll find, I don't have the data for Winnipeg here, but I found in other cities where there's like a Max next door, they'll pay a much lower rent than the 7-Eleven across the street. And it's the business model from 7-Eleven that usually does it.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Terry, any questions of the applicant on this?
I see, the override on page in the back is 586. So I guess this is where, you know, we had one previously that was, the two figures were similar. That's, I hope I'm looking at the right one, 1393 Henderson, which is 14833. So you see the base rent, it's 18,699, and I see the override is 5,866, which comes up with 24,565. So I guess this is where the override is based on the business, I would assume. I don't know. Because in previous ones, they were even pretty well. This one's substantially lower on the override, or?
Yeah, again, I wish I had
You
a better explanation of
You can.
what that amount was. For the rents, I've taken the total rent that they're paid.
So that's 1170, right? Is that what it is?
No, sorry, you're looking at
Well, if
oh, sorry, no, this,
if you're looking at
I'm all-
24,565,
I'm all confused. Oh, okay, I did include this one, okay, there we go. Yeah,
but on that page,
yeah,
24,565 divided by 2,100 is 1170.
yes, yeah,
And is
That is
that what you
correct.
had on your page 17?
yes,
Yeah, okay, I see that.
yeah.
I don't know what this all means, really. Because the figures are adjusted to $15. Anyway. A comment again, because you're trying to explain and I'm trying to understand.
Yes, and again, this 2019 negotiation they're at, that's what they're currently paying. Some of these, I benchmarked them against averages, so came up with basically a range of $15 to $20, $15 or $20, and I've applied those there. Some of them are you know, we saw the one where it was $15.50, and I was requesting the $15, and then some of them are like this one, they're currently paying $11.70, but requesting the $15, and the assessor has like 21 on it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. McIntyre, do you have any questions?
No questions.
I don't either. Proceed with 119 Salter Street. When you're ready, Mr. Cook.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The property in question is 119 Salter Street. Mr. Chairman, I have to make the request that the burden of proof be placed on the applicant for non-cooperation. And if the reduction in assessment is ordered, that it follows penalty clause of section 54 of the Municipal Assessment Act.
Okay, and the basis of your application this time?
In this case, there has been no information remitted to us. I have, just after the pictures, I have the package of what we've sent out. And you can see the address sent to Higgins Avenue, that someone has signed for it, and M. Demkowitz. Copy of the letter that we've sent. So, Mr. Chairman, I have attempted to prove that we have sent this out to the owner, and the owner has not sent back, so my request for the application of 53.3B and 54.32 stands.
Okay. Your position on this application?
Oh, so those were the other two locations that?
We're dealing with the
Sorry,
location on Salter Street right now.
Just the Salter
Yeah,
Street
okay,
one.
okay, yeah, I was trying to figure that. Yeah, and, I just, it's the owner that, has, not complied. I'm representing the tenant, 7-Eleven, that, would certainly, like to comply with these things, although they haven't had the opportunity to. But I'll leave it to the board.
Okay, we'll have to again.
Yeah,
have a
yeah,
discussion
no,
on
this is a
so-
slightly different one, so
It is
I
different.
understand, yeah.
So if you both again leave, then we're gonna have to discuss this. Okay, I can indicate we've come to a decision on this. The situation here, the city did everything that they have to do in order to show that they're entitled to success in their application. We do note that the tenant here might have some griefs, but it's not with the city, it's with the actual owner of the property, who they pay rent to. And if they're seeking relief because of the penalty, they'll have to do so in that vein, but the city basically is entitled to their application, and we're gonna grant it to them, and you can proceed with your brief first in this instance.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. Okay, so just the property's at 119 Salter. You can see a photograph of it on page 16. There.
Page 16 is Archibald, oh, it's also the second
Salter,
one.
the second one there.
Yeah.
Gas station in there. And just again benchmarking off page 17. The sales that the new leases I had on page 17, and came over benchmarked it at the $15 square foot for rent. You can see that on page 19, at the very bottom. I didn't have to mark the region that it was in. Applied to $15 square foot rent. And then on page 22, just evaluation for total value of $912,000.
Mr. Took, any questions?
I actually do have a question. Bear with me. This page here with the Petrocan on it.
Yeah.
Where it mentions like a lease calculation, but it also mentions a gallonage rate or literage rate.
Right.
Who do they pay that $14,755 to?
To Petro-Canada.
To Petro-Canada, okay.
I didn't include here because on other documents, they also get a commission for it as well, so they pay for, basically it ends up being paid for usage of the equipment, the tanks and whatnot.
Okay.
And then they get, but then they get a commission on the gas sales on the other end, so.
Fair enough. Okay. I have no further questions. Thank you.
Mr. Terry, any questions?
No, thank you.
Ms. Madigan?
Just one question on page 22, you've used $15 a square foot, and it has the gas market. 920 Archibald, you've used $20 a square foot, and it has a gas market. What's the difference, just?
The gas bar, in my analysis, didn't make a difference because they've added a value from the gas bar in their additional components. So the gas bar shouldn't make that much difference in the rent. So that would be just off benchmarking off market area and location.
Okay, thanks.
So I've got a question. I'm looking at your page number 16 and the map, and I'm trying to figure out which cross street it's at. I know it's on Salter, but Salter on what? Because it shows a cross street, but it doesn't show the,
That's the one it's like right across from the high school, I believe that one is, right? No, that's,
Isn't it on the corner of Selkirk and,
is it Selkirk?
No, it's not on Selkirk. Selkirk has the Robins, and there's a George's Pizza next to it. I think this is Flora Avenue.
Oh, Flora, okay, I know where it is. It's
Yeah.
across from high school.
Yeah,
It's Flora,
potentially
Yes.
between Flora and Stella.
Okay,
yeah, between Selkirk and Stella, halfway there.
Yep.
okay, perfect.
Thank you.
So, yeah, now I know where it is. I was thinking, because I know there's one on Redwood and
Yeah.
Maine as well,
Or-
or Salter well, but that one's have a gas bar though, so I just, but yeah, okay, thanks.
Sorry to jump in there.
No,
Another
thank you for
question was
clarifying
asked.
for us, I appreciate it.
I was just Google mapping it right now to get the exact crossing.
Yeah, no, okay, I know which one we're talking about now.
Is that a corner, is it in the corner or not?
Yeah.
It's in the corner?
Yeah, they're all 7-Elevens
All
in
in
the
the
corner. They don't go, they block it.
Okay, anything else?
That's it.
Okay, that's it, okay. Mr. Tick, you can proceed with your.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Property in question is 119 Salter Street. Again, the leases that I have are all of properties with gas stations. One of them has excess land. We've used a rate of $22.32 a square foot, which is significantly lower than any of the gas station rents that we've used. I would attribute that to the location of the property. It's in an economically disadvantaged area with some socioeconomic issues. We have also given I don't want to say a premium, an inverse premium, a reduction, sorry, an increase of the cap rate by 1.5 points. So we've used 8.35% on the cap rate for this property. You see my page 4, there's an additional building value of $403,000. I'd like to make a change on that. I'd like to change that to $380,000. That's the amount for the tanks and canopy pumps. So instead of $1,159,000, I now have a value of $1,136,000. I believe I would call that a recommendation, although it's a very small one.
That's fine.
Mr. Chairman, this is my evidence. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Questions of the assessor?
No questions.
Mr. Terry?
No questions.
No question.
Okay, so I see that you've given them a higher cap rate because of where the location,
Yes, sir.
and the rent is on the lower end for gas stations that you use, those circumstances.
Yes, sir.
But it's still a busy corner, and people still stop there for gasoline, so I don't know how that affects, people who are going to more affluent areas have to pass through there.
Yep, and I've, occasionally I've stopped there for gas because I'm out.
Yeah,
You know, so, but yeah, generally speaking, if you have the choice, you may want to choose another area, potentially.
And in fact, because there's not a whole abundance of other stores in the area, the store would still draw people who, without cars, I mean, are maybe more prevalent to going to 7-Elevens because they can't get to Superstore
Yeah,
or
yeah.
Sobeys, so.
Definitely, I mean, there is a gas station across the street, I think it's Husky.
Yeah, there's an Esso across the
It's
street.
an Esso
Yes, thank you.
yeah.
Esso across the
Yeah.
street, yeah.
So I guess you could say they're in competition with the Husky, with the SE.
Yeah.
I don't know if the ESO has attached, okay.
I
It's got a small convenience
Yeah.
store.
Does it have a store?
Yeah.
Okay, I've been in there, I don't remember a
And
store.
then Robin's Donuts is just.
Yeah,
yeah.
You get donuts and coffee there.
And there's always
I
a few
stopped
tow,
there.
there's always a few tow trucks parked there as well.
Oh, yeah.
I stopped there.
Okay, so, based on that, I see your final workup and your recommendation, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
And that takes us to 1871 Main Street.
1871 Main Street, again, let the record stipulate that I've asked for the application of penalties and that it's been denied.
Okay, and in this case, again, the material was received 17 days late?
Yes, sir.
So we've already made a finding on that, you've asked for it, and
Yes.
we've already answered, so
Yes, sir.
go ahead, thank you.
Again, property in question, 1871 Main Street. Beside this property is McDonald's, across the street is I believe a junior high school. There's a crosswalk at that intersection. Main Street is a high traffic area. We've used 2409 a square foot for the rent on this property. Again, vacancy 6%, shortfall 6.5%, cap rate 7.4%. The assessment of $619,000 appears fair and reasonable in this case, and I would ask that the assessment be confirmed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions of the assessor?
No questions.
Mr. Terry, any questions?
You're asking for 381 here. Oh, we're still on the assessor, I'm sorry.
Right, it's
I cheated a bit here.
Oh, you're already going ahead, okay, you're anticipating.
Sorry.
Any questions of the assessor?
No, thank you.
No, Mr. McNair?
No questions.
And I don't either. Okay, you can provide your evidence on this matter, and it's the last one on the agenda.
Yeah. Basically looking at, on page 17, 1871 Main shows up there, a 1378 rent. There was 2016, that's based on the 2016 auction, and in 2014, they negotiated and removed the percentage rent. That's in market area 2, which benchmarked out at $15 a rent square foot. And I was requesting a $15 rent on it, and then the calculations show up on the bottom of page 20.
Okay? Questions? Mr. Cook?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On the lease extract for 1871 Main, there's a removal, recommended removal of the percentage rent.
Yes.
That's due to the performance of the store?
That's due to 7-Eleven's business decisions to negotiate, to get rid of their percentage rent on it, because they'll just go with a fixed rent. So they have to negotiate that way.
Okay, so they told the owner that's what they're,
Well, I guess the owner obviously was getting some sort of rent for that, so they negotiated a rent that theoretically would have included what the owner was getting before, and done through some negotiation process, coming up with, future store increases till the next option type thing.
okay, thank you very much. I have no further questions.
Thank you. Mr. Aaron, any questions on this matter?
Yeah, this is a 1378 rent, I guess, if I look at the work up here.
Yes.
See, the override is, I'm on page whatever,
Yeah.
15459 is the store number. So I see the base rent is 12 and the override is 16, 17, more or less. We're on 2,100 square feet, gives you 1378. Now, some is up, some is down. Yeah, I'm trying to compare, and we don't know how this is arrived at, do we? This override business?
No, I don't know.
I know I asked it
Yeah,
before, but
yeah.
I'm trying to
Yeah,
get a little more.
I understand, and I wish I had more clear information on where that number comes from. And it may just be an internal thing that they do to, based on the store performance or something, I don't know, but I took total rent, that's what they're paying in rent, as the baseline.
That's a bit my impression based on what I,
Because this is their internal document that they use, so they, I haven't got a clear answer for you unfortunately on that, but they definitely.
I'm still
Total rent.
trying.
I know.
I'm still
I
trying.
know. We are here tomorrow, I will make some phone calls and see if I can get a clearer answer if you're here tomorrow.
No, I will be here. Thank you.
Mr. McIntyre?
No questions.
I'm looking at the document that Mr. Terry was just referring to, and I'd just like you, if you can tell us what it means. So it says overriding rent, it says 16,858 and an OR with a percentage sign, which I asked you before, you didn't know what the percentage sign was there for.
Yeah.
And then it goes on and it says 250% if you're going across to
Yeah.
your overriding on gross sales. And then it has a number, it looks like 1,385,500, etc. So does that mean that there's further rent that's payable if that amount of sales are achieved, or what's that there for?
That's, from my understanding, that's their internal calculations for their gross sales for the store. And they use that to calculate whether to continue operations or not.
So that has no basis on the rent that's
Yeah,
actually being
yeah,
received then?
Yeah, that's their internal calculations of whether to keep the store there, they can afford to pay the rent, if they can afford to pay more rent, or if they should negotiate and say, we gotta pay less rent.
Well, I see if you go farther, it does say that they will negotiate. Tend to negotiate is true, it says. So I suppose that they want to keep the store open, but not at any rental, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. That's, let me say helpful, but just,
Informative,
yeah.
if not helpful.
Okay, that's, please, thank you, well, you'll hear from us.
Great.